Hola, hola. Oops, wrong language. Hello, everyone. I just finished the Spanish version of Motivational Monday Live. So, this is another episode. I have Spanish in my mind. I have Spanish in my mind. This is another episode of Motivational Monday Live with your host, Aura Elena Martinez. And this week's episode is entitled, Your Restlessness or Boredom Are Not to Be Ignored. And before I start with this week's topic, I first want to start off by introducing myself if this is the first time that you are watching this series and explain to you a little bit what was it that motivated me to start Motivational Monday Live. Once again, my name is Orlando Martinez, and I'm a self-discovery and empowerment coach, helping women gain total clarity in their purpose so that they can wake up to daily fulfillment and certainty. Now, purpose is not to be limited to a calling. And why is that? Because you could be living your calling and still not be living your most purposeful life. And that's because your most purposeful life requires you to be enjoying greater levels of mental well being, emotional well being, spiritual well being, physical well being, and why not? Even financial well being. Why? Because every part of you and your life matters. Every part of you in your life matters. And what motivated me to start this series, Motivational Monday Live, is that Monday tends to be that day of the week where some are like, oh my God, another day of the week. Oh, back to the same old, right? It's like they start feeling the anxiety of the start of the week. And let me just tell you this, if that's how you're feeling about Mondays and the beginning of the week, that is a sign that something needs to change. Because you're not meant to be waking up feeling like, oh my God, another day, right? The intention of this series is for you to start looking forward to Mondays. Why? Because you know that every Monday evening you are going to be fed. Your mind is going to be fed. Emotionally, you're going to be fed. Spiritually, you're going to be fed with goodness. It is also the intention for you to be more and more connected with yourself, and that you elevate your level of consciousness. And why is elevating your level of consciousness so important? Because the more you elevate your level of consciousness, the more you're going to be able to experience things differently. You're able to make better decisions. You're able to discern truth from non-truth. You're able to discern what's limiting and what's not, even if what's limiting can still come from a good place somewhat, but it's very weak. You don't need weak energy around you. You don't need energy that limits you. You don't need energy that keeps you stuck in life. And so it is the intention that every time you are listening to this, you elevate more and more your level of consciousness. Because just like when you're on the first floor and you're watching the street from the first floor, everything looks big, right? The buildings look big, the cars look big. But when you are on the 10th floor, everything starts looking a bit differently, right? The car starts looking a bit smaller. All of a sudden, the buildings are not as big as they look like when you were either on the ground or first floor. The same thing happens when you elevate your level of consciousness. You're able to see things from a different perspective. And from the higher perspective, you can make better choices. You can make more inspired choices. You can make more choices from your higher self as opposed to your lower self, right? Where we see everything as big, where we see the problems as gigantic, right? And so it is my intention that you always connect yourself more and more with your truth, more and more with who you really are, more and more with who you're all about. And once again, this week's episode is entitled, Your Restlessness or Boredom Are Not to Be Ignored. And the reason why I want to discuss this in this week's episode is because these are two of the most ignored and misinterpreted emotions. See, anger is something that when we feel because of its intensity, we don't really ignore. And so is frustration. We tend to not ignore that. But when it comes to restlessness and boredom, we tend to ignore it. Or some may even slap some gratitude onto it in order to sweep those emotions underneath the rug, right? And I'm going to explain to you later on what do I mean with with slapping gratitude onto it in a way to sweep that emotion underneath the rug. You're going to see what I mean with that. Just keep listening, keep watching, because you're going to get what I mean with this. And I want to start off by sharing another piece of my story. And you're going to see how this relates to the topic and how this has to do with your life. So, back when I turned 30, I literally hit a wall of frustration. Now, I got to admit, before I hit that wall of frustration, I was feeling some restlessness, but I didn't make much of it and I just put it aside. And what I didn't realize was that restlessness that I was feeling, thank you for the likes, had turned into frustration. I want you to get lesson number one from this story. Anytime you ignore an emotion, it's only going to get bigger and bigger. Sometimes we think if we ignore it, it's going to go away, it's going to disappear. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It actually intensifies. Like I shared with you, my restlessness intensified into frustration. And at the time, it didn't matter the fact that I had reached one of my biggest goals to lose weight and I became 112 pounds, to weigh 112 pounds. It didn't matter the fact that every week I was traveling to one of my favorite countries and one of my favorite cities, which is Rome, right? And I remember sharing my frustration with a friend of mine. And the way I was describing it, she was like, damn, you make it sound like your life is just like horrible, right? Like this is not good and that is not good. Lesson number two from this story that I want you to get. It doesn't matter if something looks good on paper or if unto the eyes of other people, the way you're living supposedly is good and great and blah, blah, blah. What matters most is how you actually feel about yourself and your life. Okay? Going back to the story. So it wasn't until I started to take the time to understand what it was that I was feeling and the message that that frustration had for me that I was able to transform that emotion. It wasn't until then, right? And thanks to that emotion, I got my calling and I was stepping into a journey that led me to transforming my life in ways that I didn't think possible. And it's still transforming my life up until now. Okay. And it's only returning me back to all the things that I once loved and who I was as a child. Right. What do I mean with that? I got back to loving having my photo taken, right? As a child, I loved it whenever a picture of mine, a photo was mine, was being taken. Returning back to being more outgoing, more daring. Don't mind making a fool out of myself, right? Taking more leadership roles. Why am I starting out with this story and why am I even sharing this piece, right? Is to illustrate to you that when you honor your emotions, when you take the time to understand your emotions, to sit with your emotions, to get the message that it has for you, you are going to go back to who you really are and to the life that you were always meant to live. Because somewhere along the way, we lose our way, right? Listening to what so and so has to say, what friends think, or what the neighborhood may think is cool, or what school thinks is cool, or what the teacher thinks. And all of that just pollutes us to such a degree that we lose the sense of who we really are. I want you to get this. Your emotions are extremely valuable, especially when you're feeling restlessness and boredom. They're not there just to be there. I want you to get that. They're not there just to be there. This is very, very important. And I would like to explain why it is a huge mistake to ignore restlessness and boredom. Because number one, any emotion that you feel it for a reason. I want you to get that. It's important that when you're feeling restlessness or boredom, that you understand where is that coming from. Because trust, no emotion is just random. Even if it seems random, I can guarantee you it is not random. This is why doing this inner work is so important, so that you can untangle yourself from that knot that sometimes forms within us and even outside of us, and doesn't allow us for us to step into the life that we truly desire. Okay? What is the message behind that restlessness and boredom? Is there something that you should be doing or not doing? What is it that you're not seeing that you need to start paying attention to? Right? What part of you may be neglected that you might not even realize? Is there something in your life that just isn't clicking? These are the kinds of things that you need to be asking yourself whenever you're feeling that restlessness or that boredom. These are the things that you need to be investigating and questioning. Because trust, once again, anything that you're feeling it for a reason. No emotion is random. No emotion is just because. It's there for a reason. It has a valuable message. It has a valuable It's a valuable asset. I want you to start looking at your emotions as asset. That's what they are. Your emotions are assets, okay? And even if, I want you to listen to this because this is so important. Even if to you, the cause of how you're feeling is something outside of you or because of someone else, trust, trust that the main cause is coming from you. I'm going to give you an example just so you can understand where this is coming from. And this is why emotions are great feedback. They're great feedback in terms of you understanding more about yourself. So last week, I was hugely disappointed by someone, right? As a matter of fact, I was already disappointed with this person for quite some time. But this was the drop that made the water just spill out of that mug, right? As we say in Spanish. I was just done. I was just so done. And I know why I felt that way. I know why I felt that way. It's because I felt that one of my values was being crossed. One of my values were being crossed. This is why you understanding yourself deeply and knowing what your values are, what your ideal life even looks like, what are your requirements in order to be in your space? Yes, I dare to go there. This is very important, right? What your needs are, etc. It is so important that you know all of this, that you know this so deeply. And the reason why it's so important for you to know this so deeply is because all of this is going to determine what decisions you need to make, what to allow in your life, who you need to have as friends, who you need to have as a companion, right? Thank you for the hearts. I'm so glad you're loving this. But this is so important, right? It's going to really dictate what are the choices, what are the decisions, what are the things that you need to be eliminating out of your life, what are the things that you need to be welcoming out in your life. This is why this is so important. When you have this deep level of knowledge of yourself, you literally have the blueprint for your life. I kid you not. You have the blueprint for your life. Something that I didn't mention in the Spanish version, and I wish this would have came up for me in the Spanish version. By the way, if you speak both languages, you will get such a great advantage from listening to both languages, even though it's the same message. Because sometimes I get things in the moment in one language that I don't get in another. And I don't know if it's because someone that needs to Someone that's either watching it or who will watch it that only speaks that language is gonna need to listen to that message. So sometimes I don't even know what's gonna come out of my mouth, right? Because it's something that just comes to me because I feel inspired to share. When you notice that you keep attracting a certain kind of person, I'm going to use as an example a romantic partner, right? I want you to remember this. You attract not what you want, but who you are. And so the more you understand yourself, if you're wondering, oh my God, I'm attracting all these jerks, right? Am I a jerk? Not necessarily. But if you have any wounds within, any self-worth issues, any self-esteem issues, you hate a part of yourself, you have childhood issues. I mean, it's numerous the things that can be going on within you. Those are the very things that can prevent you from making the right decisions for yourself as to who to allow in your life. And so, you doing that work and eliminating all of that is going to be so important. I want you to know I'm available to do that level of work. Anyhow, it is when you understand yourself this deeply that you're able to live that fulfilled life, that deeply fulfilled life. Another reason why it's a huge mistake to ignore your restlessness or the boredom that you may be feeling is because number two, you may be missing one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle of your life. That's right. Why am I saying this? I'm going to utilize myself again as an example, utilizing the example that I mentioned earlier. If I would have ignored the frustration that I felt the moment I turned 30, I wouldn't be making this video right here, right now. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. I would not have healed one of the biggest wounds that I had for years, for decades, which was a hatred that I had towards a part of me. That's right. Right? I would not have had the level of confidence that I have today. I would not have done that TED talk that I did last year. Right? So you see where I'm going with this? This is huge. This is huge. One of the biggest things that I've noticed that keeps people stuck in a life or in a job or in a cycle that they do not like or living what they do not want to live and experiencing life in a way that they don't want to experience is because they keep ignoring the emotions that are wanting to surface, that are wanting to communicate something that needs to change in their life. Right? And so they miss the big piece of the puzzle that would guide them as to what it is exactly that they need to be doing in order for them to be experiencing the life that they want to experience. This is why it's never a good idea to ignore any of your emotions, especially the ones that are very, very uncomfortable. The third reason why it's a huge mistake to ignore the restlessness and the boredom that you may be experiencing is because by ignoring it, you're going to lose your peace. What do I mean with this? Even in the moments where you're able to tame those uncomfortable emotions, those uncomfortable emotions eventually are going to surface, right? They're going to surface. And when they do, you are not going to feel the peace that you are wanting to feel. You won't feel at ease with the way life is. With how you're feeling, you're not going to feel ease. And you're going to be wondering what's going on. Right? You're going to be wondering what's going on. And the universe and your higher self, it's not going to let you off the hook. It's not until you lean into what's going on within you and to what's wanting to communicate to you, what it's wanting to present itself to you. That's why it's not going to let you off the hook, because it's actually doing you a favor. It's wanting to serve you. And the following that I'm going to be sharing with you are some of the ways that we try to ignore the restlessness and the boredom that many times we're not even aware that we're doing this. And the reason why I want to share what are some of the ways that we may be ignoring the restlessness and the boredom without us even realizing it. And this applies to any emotion that we're wanting to ignore, quite frankly. The reason why I'm sharing this is because I want you to really start elevating your level of awareness about yourself and how you are handling what's going on within you. Because the more awareness you have, the more you're going to be able to manage yourself, the more you're going to be able to have control in your life. You may not control the outside, but by controlling the within, you are going to affect what's out. I want you to get that. Okay, so some of the ways that we may be ignoring the restlessness and the boredom, we're not even aware of it. Number one, slapping gratitude onto it. That's right. I went there. I went there. Gratitude is one of the most powerful emotions to feel. Yes, it is. And I want to share that gratitude was not meant to be just a feeling, it is meant to be a lifestyle. Okay, I want you to really get that, because when you get that, it's going to make all the difference. It's going to make all the difference. When you limit gratitude to just an emotion, you will not experience the magic that gratitude can have in your life. And the reason why I dare to use the word magic is kind of woo woo, but I use it for a reason, is because when you apply it as a lifestyle and not just as an emotion, it's going to seem as if things are just going your way and one beautiful thing after another, even though it's not really necessarily going your way. But because you're in a different level of consciousness, in a different state, it will just seem that way, right? It will just seem that way and it will feel that way because that's the vibration that you're in, that's the frequency that you're in. Okay. Even though gratitude is meant to be a lifestyle, gratitude is not meant to be used as a way to brush off your emotions. I want you to really get that. Okay. What do I mean with this? I'm going to use the following as an example. Say, for example, you are frustrated with your job. You're not happy with your job. You don't like your job, but you want to be grateful at the same time. So I'm going to play the role as the person that doesn't like my job, doesn't like what I'm doing, but oh, I got to feel grateful. So I'm frustrated with my job. I don't like it, but I gotta be grateful. I gotta be grateful because at least it pays the bills, right? Based on the way I presented myself, do you believe that I'm being grateful? No, it's not believable, right? It's not believable. And yet, this is what's going on within you, right? And the vibration that you're emitting when you are trying to put gratitude in a place where there's no gratitude. You're trying to slap onto it. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And forcing yourself to be grateful for something that deep down you actually are frustrated about, it's just going to keep you more in that state that you're in. The best thing that you can do, and don't worry, I'm going to keep explaining, so stay with me because you're going to get where I'm going with this. The best thing that you can do to transform whatever emotion you are wanting to transform is for you to feel it, understand it, and do what it is that is asking you to do. It's not enough to just understand and get the message that that emotion has for you. You got to also apply what it is that it is requiring of you, right? That's how you're able to transform it. Just knowing why you're frustrated is not enough if you're not doing anything to change the situation, because that's the reason why you're feeling frustrated, right? You got to do something about it. By the way, gratitude doesn't mean that you're content with how things are. Because I think this is why people get tripped up with gratitude If they're feeling frustrated with their situation, it's like, no, I gotta feel, I gotta feel content. No, gratitude doesn't mean that you're content with the situation. A beautiful friend of mine, and she stated this so beautifully, Fabiola Garcia, she stated, you can still feel gratitude and want more out of life. It's so beautifully said. It's so beautifully said. It's okay if you don't like the way things are, right? You can feel gratitude for it, but don't slap gratitude onto it. Feeling gratitude doesn't necessarily have to equate with being content, right? But do not slap gratitude in order to transform the feeling, because it's not going to work. It's not going to work. The more, I'm going to say this, it's more sincere to say, well, I feel grateful for the fact that I felt frustrated because thanks to my frustration, I got my calling. As opposed to, wait, let me feel grateful for the life that I have, even though I'm not happy with the way things are. You see the difference in vibration? And all of those little things, they make a huge difference. They make an impact in our mind. They make an impact in our emotion. They make an impact in the way we show up in life. They make an impact in the way we are vibrating, what we're emanating out. Say the truth to yourself. I wish I would have said that in the Spanish version. Say the truth to yourself, right? And I'm going to say this, not being content doesn't mean that you cannot feel grateful. There's always something to feel grateful for, but the way it's going to be more genuine and more beautiful is when you say the truth to yourself, if that makes any kind of sense. And based on what I shared before, it does make sense. It makes sense when you say the truth to yourself. When you say the truth for what you can be grateful for, there you're going to be able to experience the gratitude that you're seeking, as opposed to slapping gratitude, because all you're trying to do is hide something that has no business hiding. It needs to come to the surface, okay? Another way that we try to ignore the boredom and the restlessness is by patching a feeling that can turn into a wound. What do I mean with this? I'm going to use the following analogy, just so you can get a sense of where I'm going with this. Say, for example, I have a cut right here. I have a cut that I have been ignoring all this time. And it's a cut, right? And all of a sudden, I just decide after many days of not paying attention to it, let me just patch it. Let me just patch it. I'm going to ask you this. What can possibly happen to that cut? A simple cut, but that was an opening, but not that big, that I kept ignoring. And all of a sudden now I want a patch. It can get infected and turn into a wound. There are times that this is exactly what we do with our emotions. We patch them so it's out of our sight. We're not even seeing it. We're not, it's a whatever, right? Think about it. When you're patching something, you're wanting to mend it, right? Or you're trying to treat it, like when you have an injury, right? That's how you would do, but that's what patching is basically, right? The way that this analogy applies to patching your emotions is that some patch that we use, some of the patches that we use in order to mend, right? Treat what it is that's going on is the following. Shopping. Say, for example, you may be feeling down. I was guilty of that. Shopping and utilizing money that I did not have at the moment just to numb what I was feeling. Shopping is one of those ways that we tend to patch what we're feeling. Another one that you might not think is a form of patching, but listen to why it's a form of patching. Constant vacationing in order to escape your current reality. You saw why it's a patch? Because what you're doing is not to relax and enjoy yourself, it's to escape your current reality. Let me tell you this. If you're constantly vacationing in order to escape your current reality, that's a sign that something in your personal life needs to change. Vacation is supposed to be relaxing, and then when you come back, you feel even better than when you left. If you're just feeling bad and you're just utilizing vacation so that you can feel good, but then when you go back to your everyday life, you're back to feeling the way you were feeling before, that is no good. And I'm going to tell you this, the constant vacationing is not going to help either. It's equivalent to you just treating the symptom rather than going to the root of an illness. And that's exactly what patching does. Another example of how we patch our emotions is through drinking. And I'm not talking about taking a sip and enjoying yourself. I'm talking about, let me drink so I'm not feeling this emotion. Let me drink so I can forget what just happened. Right? The wound that this creates can vary. One of them being developing a bad habit that you had no business developing. I'm gonna utilize myself as an example. I didn't want to feel the grief of my dad's passing, right? So what did I do all these years? I just kept eating my emotions, right? I kept eating my grief. And that with time, not only did it make me gain weight, but it made me develop a bad habit of just eating. So I would just to eat because it was just a habit. And the habit was at night. Can you believe that? Ooh, bad, 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 bad habit. Okay. Another way that it can become a wound is you sink further into whatever emotion it is that you are experiencing. You sink deeper and deeper. You want to feel your emotions. What you do not want to do is dwell in your emotions, right? You do not want to dwell in your emotions unless these are the good feeling emotions. But you don't want to dwell in frustration and sadness inside. No, because that's going to make you sink even deeper. Another wound that these patches can create is unnecessary debt. If you're utilizing shopping as a way to numb whatever emotion that you're feeling, it's going to make you get into unnecessary debt. If you're going to get into debt because you started investing in yourself, because you're working on yourself. You understand what I'm saying? Or you're investing in some kind of asset, not a liability. You'll be surprised. I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole different topic and it has to do with finances. I'm not going to go into that. But you see where I'm going with this, right? Let me tell you this. When you dare to face yourself, you're going to see who you've been searching for all this time. You are going to see what it is that you've been looking for all this time. And this is because within you lies the answers. Within you lies the resources. Within you lies the solutions. Within you lies the breakthroughs. Within you lies the blueprint. The blueprint of your life lies within you. Within you lies the happiness. Within you lies the love you seek. Within you lies your soulmate. Within you lies the friends you seek. Within you lies the career of your dreams. Within you lies the confidence you seek. Within you lies the inspiration that you may be seeking. Within you lies the discipline that you need. And within you even lies the money that you want. Now, let me tell you this. For those that may be thinking, okay, that sounds like nonsense, because how is the money that I'm seeking within me when it's outside of me? I don't have the money within me. If I would have had the money within me, I would have already taken the money outside of me. How is it that you could tell me that my soulmate that I'm seeking is within me? Because if it would have been within me, I would have already taken that soulmate outside of me, right? Let me tell you this. Before I started doing the inner work, and I used to read or hear that everything is within us, that made no sense to me whatsoever. This is why raising your level of consciousness is so important. And one of the quickest ways to raise your level of consciousness is doing the inner work. Sometimes we think it's just reading books, or taking just courses, When you do the inner work, especially when it's one on one, trust when I tell you this, it's going to accelerate and help you see things in a completely different manner and see yourself in a completely different manner. The way that all these things are within you is that the more you remove the layers that are getting in the way, the more you heal your own wounds, the more you really understand yourself deeply, because you're making different decisions, because you're vibing differently, because you're putting yourself out there in a different way, you're going to be able to attract differently. And not only that, you're going to be able to select, AKA allow differently. And in that sense, because you're already being a certain person, you're able to be the match for your soulmate. So you're allowing the right person that is for you to come to you and to even recognize you when you're the right person. When you don't have any barriers and no self worth issues, the money, and when you have confidence, the money can flow more easily to you because of the way you're putting yourself out there. And in that sense, all those things are within you. Okay. We think that everything is outside of us, but it is not. In the 3D reality, right? It appears to be that way, that everything is outside of us because the man is outside of you, the woman is outside of you, the money is outside of you, the career is outside of you, right? But if you look a little closely, it was first within you before it was outside of you. It was within you first before it was outside of you. Okay. And so, with that said, your restlessness and boredom are there to provide you with clues that if you pay close attention to them, you will get closer and closer to the life that you want, to the things that you want, to becoming the person that you aspire to be. And if you are ready to transform your life, you are ready to do the inner work, you are ready to uncover what are those layers that are standing in the way, you are ready to uncover the blocks and transform those blocks so that they can be stepping stones that gets you closer and closer to the life that you are wanting. If you are wanting to become the version of you that your vision, that your dreams, that your goals and your desires require, if you are ready to obtain the total clarity necessary, because trust me, I go deep in this work. If that's you and you're ready, I'm going to highly recommend that you schedule your clarity call with me, right? I'm always putting that link, and you can private message me so I can send you that link. And in that call, we're going to go over where you are now, where you desire to be, what is necessary to close that gap between where you are now and where you desire to be, and how I'm able to help you to close that gap. Because you don't need to be confused. You don't need to be spinning in a cycle that you do not like. It's time for you to get the clarity that you need. It's time for you to become the person that vision, that goal, that desire requires you to be. We're in April already. Can you believe that? How much longer are you going to wait? Your most valuable asset, believe it or not, it is not money, it is time. And the reason why it is time is because time, once it's gone, is gone. You cannot make it up. Right? Now is the time for you to work on you. Now is the time for you to become the version of you that you're required to be. Now is the time to heal those wounds. Now is the time to uncover those blocks. Now is the time. If not now, when? If not now, when? So schedule that call if you're ready and share this video with other people. You never know who in your circle may be experiencing some kind of boredom or may be experiencing some kind of restlessness, some kind of uncomfortable emotion. You just never know where someone is. And this can be the message that gets them thinking. This can be the message that inspires them. This can be the message that gets them moving. So share this message, this video with other people. And with that said, it is my desire that you live life to the max the way you are destined to live. And until next time, bye for now.